would you bring if you could take one thing? A lock of hair or a song to sing? What would you bring if you could take one thing? And when your days are over and your time is through, you tap on your shoulder, there's an angel by you. You get a minute to make your case before you're taken to the other place. And just as you step into the blue, you discover you never knew that when you go on the wing, you're allowed to take one thing. Hey, what would you bring if you could take one thing? Your lover's voice or the scent of spring? What would you bring if you could take one thing? What would you bring?
Kirk Ridge live here in the studio.
I
Making
need
you
an
think.
answer to the question.
What would you bring?
What would you bring, Kirk? You gave us a list of options, but you didn't tell us the answer.
I bring Sally.
That's a good call.
That's nice. What would you bring, Bob?
This coffee cup full of bourbon.
Okay.
That's a good choice.
I feel like it's gonna be needed.
You're all about making good decisions.
And chocolate. Chocolate too. I like chocolate.
Yeah.
Good.
Now, wait, is this...
Well, you have to put the chocolate in the cup. You're only allowed one thing. And as soon as you get
Basically,
there,
it's
you
a-
can pull it out.
It's a bourbon chocolate milkshake. That sounds pretty nice.
Is that one of your older, newer songs?
It's pretty new.
Okay.
I actually, to be honest about it, wrote it for Katrina. I was really struck by those people,
Oh, yeah.
in the Superdome, and they couldn't get out, and just all of that. And then I had set it aside and really hadn't looked at that song until this Ukraine experience and pulled it back out. And I've started doing it in the shows. And speaking of shows, on Sunday, with Isabel Valls has invited me to join her over at this apparently wonderful place. We'll find out on Sunday from 3 to 5. It's called Zimmerman Vineyards, and it's over in some sort of semi-mountainous area south of High Point.
Yes.
Bob, you ever been there?
I've never been there, but I know a fair number of the Greensboro musicians go down there that play and say that it is a fantastic spot.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to that one.
And to clarify, if people are planning on traveling, we know the weather is supposed to be a little bit sketchy this weekend. Is it an indoor and outdoor venue? Like, are you safe playing wherever you're going to be?
Well, I think this is outdoors. Looking at the forecast, not that they can forecast the weather,
I
but
know.
it's Sunday's looking okay.
Okay.
They do have an inside area also, though. So.
Okay, so you know what? Sign yourself up, get in the car, go see Kirk and Isabel. Get back out there and enjoy some live music. Boy, we've missed it so. All right, Kirk, you ready to play us another one?
I am. This is pretty new, very new. Once a traveler stopped on the road. He can't remember where he planned to go. Might been running from a memory, or simply searching for his identity. Yeah, he's intrigued by what awaits on the next page. And sometimes a dreamer stares at the walls. She once hung wishes and believed them all. Might have been predestined to lose her innocence. No sense in wondering where the wonder went. she's intrigued by what awaits on the next page. On the next page. They come together by coincidence. No one is more surprised than them. They sit together and their fingers touch, and the sensation, it suggests love. Yeah, they're intrigued by what awaits on the next page. On the next page.
Kirk Ridge.
Kirk Ridge.
Live here on Pass the Hat. On
Yeah.
the next page.
I have no idea what that's about.
What's that song about, Kirk Ridge?
It's about you just got to take things in life as they come. I think that's what that's about. And because you never know, you might be having a bad day, and then see some chipmunk eating your sunflowers, but then the hawk comes down and gets the chipmunk,
Retribution.
and that's that a good day for the hawk.
Yay, Hawks.
I have a question for you, Kirk. So, thinking about our local music scene, of which you've been a part for a really long time, I think about this a lot. There seems to be, I don't want to say divide, but there seems to be, there's a large contingent of our singer-songwriter community that is, I would say, a midlife or approaching retirement age or in it. And at that point, people become really active and are writing profound songs and things that are really worth listening to.
It totally makes sense.
Yeah. And of course, because their time is freed up and
Yeah.
they've had the talent and maybe they've been working on their career. So here's my question for you. Tell people why they should come out and listen to folks who are emerging as singer-songwriters, maybe even in retirement. I know what my answer is, but what would you tell someone my age or younger? Like, why should they come out and see emerging older singer-songwriters?
Well, I guess I would add to that that you might see young emerging singer-songwriters too. And
Yeah.
I think the great thing that I've experienced with this is that the freshness and the authenticity of these expressions. We've many times in open mics seen somebody that brought their first song, and they're nervous, obviously,
Yeah.
but they're encouraged because it's a very encouraging community, and then they share this song, and it's just wonderful. And why is it wonderful? It's because they're not worrying about Nashville, or they're not writing to a formula, or it's just something that they were back in their own little cocoon, and they wrote it from the heart, and it speaks truth. And so I think truth would be the answer to your question.
I would agree. And I know when I go to a lot of local events, I learn so much. And I also hear that other people have shared my experiences when I hear their songs and when I hear their poems or whatever it is they're sharing. And it really does make you feel less alone, like you're not walking this path alone and no one ever walked it before.
I
That's
have a
a nice
slightly
feeling.
different take.
What is it?
Well, I've been reading recently this cultural anthropology tome, and one of the points they make that they glean from some other scientific literature is that human beings walking around, we feel like we're conscious and engaged all the time, but according to brain scans, we're really only very conscious maybe 5% of the time, and the rest of the time we're kind of automatons, just walking around and doing the things that we do.
You.
But when our brains are engaged the most is when we're in conversation with other people or consuming the arts that other people have created. So when you go out to an event and you engage with people, or you sit down and you listen to the music and you actually listen to the stories that the music is putting out for you, that's when you are most consciously engaged. So it's basically good for your brain.
So Kirk is making us smarter, is what you're saying.
That's basically what I'm saying.
Okay, so Kirk,
First time I've been accused of that.
well, I know that I lost several million brain cells over the past 2 weeks, so can you make me smarter again?
Well, so far as the stories go, I grew up in my formative years were in the late 50s and early 60s, and we had these wonderful cars back then.
Zoom, zoom.
And the difference was every year when the new car there would be like a date when new car models came out from all the manufacturers, and they had these wonderful designers, and every year the cars had these different designs with fins and things like that. All those cars are now in Cuba, by the way. I don't know how they ended up there, how they drove them all to Cuba.
A true story, though.
But and then at the end of that era was something called Vietnam, and so this is sort of a little my memory of those days. Ignoring one and all, they back up against the wall. Time to stop for one dance. They run outside to his hot ride. They're in a teenage trance. His hand on her thigh, the metal to the floor. Suggestion in her eye, you can hear the motor roar. And she's breathing on his neck tonight. They weren't warned he'd be sent off to war in a place called Vietnam. First a letter every day, then nothing much to say, and she tries to understand. In the jungle fog, his mind's a blur. Closes his eyes, pictures her, and she's breathing on his neck. She's breathing on his neck. She's breathing on his neck tonight. And back in his folks' garage, he kept the car, and sometimes she walks past. She thinks on back. And when they meet on a surprise street, stop in their tracks. Her kiss on his cheek is all he needs to know he's made it back. And by the curve there he waits. They climb inside and speed away. One more time, she's breathing on his neck. She's breathing on his neck. She's breathing on his neck tonight.
Kirk Ridge. You're bringing the good songs tonight.
You can
They're always good.
You can still feel that.
Breathing on your neck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that was my dog, but it felt good too.
I was going to say the context of that, like if you change the words of that to he was breathing on her neck, totally different.
It's a little sketchy that way, doesn't it?
That's terrible. That's where my mind goes. Bob is over here doing bad things, Kirk.
It's like a Dracula.
I've often been accused of looking like Dracula. Never once.
You look nothing like
Never
Dracula.
once.
Well, I enjoyed that song. I especially enjoyed the historical context for it as well.
Totally.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
That's a good songwriter who gives you that intro to the song, and all of a sudden the song has much more punch and much more meaning to it.
Yeah, and poignancy.
I'll move back 10 years from that story to. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, out a little bit in the suburbs, where all these little houses, and everybody there, all the men were and women were of the same age. They were all in World War II, and they had just come back, and they had the GI Bill, and they had incentives. They all built their houses at the same time or bought their houses, and they all had
2.3 kids.
Yeah, that same thing. And, they're all just starting up in their lives. And they also had, many of them, rage. They had rage.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sure
And
did.
I think part of it was from the Depression era families that they grew up in.
Yep.
Some of the just experiences that they had growing up, and that's passed on almost like a genetic illness. And there was a lot of what's going on in this song going on there, and was accepted as well. Yeah, sure. That's the way we handle things.
Yeah, suck it up.
When I was a young boy, I was like any other. Had a big, strong daddy, and I had a quiet mother, and I didn't mean it, but sometimes I was bad. And my daddy would get mad, and he took me to the basement where the neighbors couldn't hear. Grabbed me by the neck and said, "Hey son, bend over here." Took a belt from around his waist, a weapon in disguise. Don't know why he couldn't see there in my eyes. It was cry, baby, cry. Cry, baby, cry. Cry, baby, cry. Cry, cry, cry. Now I am all grown up, have a son now of my own. Drive a fancy car and I have a fancy home. Have a fine position and a beautiful wife, and there isn't anything lacking in my life. But sometimes I go crazy over something small, she said. I lose control and the blood runs down the bed. Isn't it a shame about the fathers and the sons and all the little ones? It's cry, baby, cry. Cry, baby, cry. Cry, baby, cry. Cry, cry, cry.
Bam.
It's true, though. I read a lot about that time period in my freelance and then just as part of my reading. And with the suburbanization of America and with this emphasis on the nuclear family, and when we came away from the village way of raising children, things fell apart in some really significant ways, and that
we were
happened.
Dealing with a lot of broken people too.
Yeah.
After World War II.
Yeah, and I wonder if sometimes not enough sympathy is extended because they don't have historical context. People don't understand why are people making these horrible, ridiculous decisions because they don't know.
Yeah, to a large extent, they don't know any better.
Yeah,
I was lucky. I grew up with kind of liberal hippie psychologist parents.
yeah,
But I had friends who were afraid of their parents and afraid of the rage,
yeah.
and it was a weird, scary time.
They didn't have PTSD back then. And
They called it shell shock, right?
there were no resources. I think you're just supposed to suck it up. You
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah, be a man.
bury that. You were there to, for a reason, and come home and be normal.
Yep,
And it wasn't always easy to be normal.
a lot of bootstrapping for sure.
Yeah, and some of it in the wrong way.
Yeah, that's one thing that's always really interesting about your songs, Kirk, is that however subtly, there's always context in your songs. That's one thing I've realized is that you always know where in history or in the present you are. It's never an abstract mystery. I'm never wondering like, well, what's he singing about? It's always very clear to me, and I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Kirk, you have recorded a fair amount of music. Do you have more songs that you're thinking of recording again?
We actually, right as we were entering the pandemic, I guess 2 years ago, it was March, because I remember we did Art Walk, as that's the last show I did for quite a while. And I was talking with my band, the Black Dog Syndrome band, with about, it changed a little bit because Butch wasn't with us anymore, but Eddie Berman from Sound Pure now is playing guitar. And I met with John Hanks, the drummer, and met with Eddie over at Sound Pure, and we had planned then to record a record that summer.
How about that?
And how we like to record is to do it live. We have some practices, then we get together live, and we love recording live. There are different ways to do it, and that's our preference, just because it's so much fun, the experience. That's a good bit of it for us. And then that was on the shelf. So I'm thinking about it a little bit. It's, you can record things at home, and I've done some of that, but to do a record with your friends, to do it in a real studio, they don't let you in for free. And so it's,
Right.
kind of trading off these days of, well, is that, why would we do that? And I think the answer would be not to have one more record or one more recording, because we've done a nice number of those, but for that experience with my friends. So I'm toying about it. I would love to. So maybe we will, or maybe we'll just get together, and a lot of people have recording equipment and things. Maybe we could just do it ourselves and have a big party and record the party and get it that way.
Have a couple of shows. Yeah.
That would be
fun.
so much fun.
Yeah, I'd be there.
We had, speaking of shows, and the big event last couple of years of my life has not happened, and that's for about 8 years I got to be involved with Durham Centerfest, the Durham Art Council.
So
and
fun.
We've talked about Centerfest before. They block off the two main streets, Main Street and Chapel Hill Street, downtown Durham, and there's all this art and music and dance and food and everything, and it's a big party downtown Durham, and we've really enjoyed that. Well, the last 2 years we weren't able to have Centerfest.
Is it happening this year?
It is. It'll be in September. And all you musicians out there, the website, go on Durham Arts Council, click Centerfest, and the website is open for performers. To and then I coordinate a committee, and we'll sit and listen to a number of people have been on the committee, Rebecca Newton, Reese Palmer, people like that, and we listen and try and get a diversity of acts in terms of music and in terms of styles and in terms of persons and things like that. And so website is open, and if you'd love to play Centerfest, we'd love to listen to your application.
Y'all submit your application, because we need Centerfest to sound like Durham.
They also need, if you're not interested in playing, they also need hosts. They also need stage managers. They also need people to help pick up trash and volunteer. So if you're not interested in being on stage, it is the best party in Durham. It's my favorite event in Durham.
Thank you guys for doing that in the past, and we'll be calling on you again.
Oh, heck yeah, we'll be there.
It is big fun. I'd love to be a part of it.
So this has some of the images, I think, from events such as Centerfest. Faces aglow, reflected in the window of the bakery across the street. Inside's a ticket to a journey to a land where all is sweet. And the minstrel on the corner holds the hand to the finest cane in all the town. And the colors finely tufted, they dazzle. As he spins it, he engages the gathering crowd. And Kim and Lucy Bella are there, and the music fills the air. We got the buyers and sellers and all the fortune tellers telling truth and telling lies, and loves and dances and all second chances to relive the days gone by. Then the shadow from the alley emerges for a moment and pulls me to his side. Here's the stuff that dreams are made of, says softly as he smiles, are you ready for the ride? And Maduro Bob is there, and the music fills the air. The music fills the air. Music fills the air. I see a cop on a horse, posing for the pictures for the tourist who gasping for breath, and search for answers hidden in the glances of the actors in costume dress. Old women selling flowers to lay for hours, so friend beware. And 100 different stores with 1,000 different endings take away your cares. I'll see you there, and the music will fill the air. The music fills the air, yeah. The music fills the air.
Kim Lane making a cameo appearance in a Kirk Ridge song.
Lucy
As well
Bella.
as Maduro Bob. And it is the top of the hour. You're listening to WHUP LP Hillsboro. And it is the top of the hour with Pass the Hat, live local music. And it is now time for Kirk to be a spokesmodel. It's my favorite part.
That's right. We have another sponsor for the second hour of the show. This hour of Pass the Hat is sweetly provided by Matthew's Chocolates, 104 North Churton Street, Hillsboro, North Carolina. Exquisitely handcrafted chocolates and chocolate accessories for your chocolate needs.
It's a surprise inside.
It is a surprise box. Normally, Matthew makes one of those 1-pound chocolate bars for our guests, but Matthew had some employee issues, and he's running the show by himself this week. So you get a surprise box of fantastic
Excellent.
Matthew's chocolates.
Very excited.
I like how he's being smart and not opening it on the live stream in case it explodes.
It might explode.
Might
Remember your
explode
birthday?
with wonderfulness.
Yeah, anything from Matthews is just the bomb. You totally want some.
Well, and also, seasonally speaking, the warm weather is going to be upon us soon. He sells gelato.
Oh, he's got a full case of gelato. He just
Yeah.
got a fresh batch of strawberries in from McCandless Farm.
Yep.
And he's got some strawberry gelato there that is just this bright, super bright strawberry red. And I had a taste of it, and there's none left. I ate all of it.
So here's your plan. You come to the Eno Farmers Market this weekend. You swing by Matthews. You get your chocolate and chocolate accessories. That's thanks, Bob. Your gelato, everything that you need, and then you go hiking somewhere along the Riverwalk. That sounds like a pretty sweet Saturday, doesn't it?
It's a fantastic Saturday. I think I'm
Yeah.
doing that tomorrow.
Yep. And while listening to the rebroadcast, which you're getting live right now, of Kirk Ridge and his music, how are you going to kick off this next hour, Kirk?
Well, I'll dedicate this to longtime listeners of the show, our friends Deb and Russ, who are my son's next-door neighbors, and they, about a year ago, moved to back home where they came from, to Louisiana. And there is, and so I still stay in touch with them, and Louisiana is a different place than
It's a
around
whole nother
here.
country.
And so this song is a little bit about that different place. The streets are bleak, supply run out. Climb the walls and pacing down. The salty wind, it stings your eyes. Everybody, they're starting to cry. Every sister and every brother and every daddy and every mother, they're crying. Down from heaven, crying up from hell. They're meeting in the middle right here in Slidell. And calloused hands on Pontchartrain. The boat's so low, the anchor's strained. Sonar beam, your fate can tell. Everybody crawling out of the shell. Every sister and every brother and every daddy and every mother, they're crawling down from heaven, crawling up from hell. They're meeting in the middle right here in Slidell. Boogie dance around the pot. Add the ghost pepper to make it hot. Magic roux, hypnotic steam. Everybody shaking the tambourine. Yeah, every sister and every brother and every daddy and every mother, shaking down from heaven, shaking up from hell. They're meeting in the middle right here in Slidell.
Yes, sir. Kirk Ridge live here in the studio. I was digging the imagery in my brain that y'all probably couldn't see of all the people crawling down from heaven and crawling up from hell to meet in Slidell.
Is that Dante's Inferno?
It kind of
I think it kind of is. So here's my Louisiana story.
Uh-oh.
I actually worked in the
Do we
schools.
need to tell the kids not to listen?
No, you need to, because there's a warning.
Okay.
I worked in the schools in Slidell. I did artist residencies down there.
Wow.
I did. And as part of that trip, I also worked in some of the schools in New Orleans. This was years and years ago. And as I was enjoying some downtime, I was walking through the French Quarter on the river, and a cruise boat, one of those river cruise boats, very slowly, as they do, crashed into a mall, a shopping mall that was right onto the river.
Wow.
And I saw, and I walk around outdoors without my glasses pretty often. So I saw bodies fall into the water thinking, oh no. And they floated up, and I was like, oh, horrifying.
They're dead already.
They were mannequins. And I couldn't tell at all. And I really thought that there had been some human disaster.
Interesting, because Kirk has a song about that.
Do you really have a song about when the riverboat crashed into the mall?
It's more
That
about
is the saddest
mannequins.
thing I've ever heard of. You know, really. Sad, sad, sad.
He's looking for the mannequin song now.
It was just, it was odd because it was one of those instances that happened in slow motion. And when you're watching a slow motion disaster,
Big slow boats, big giant boats. They move
Yeah.
really slowly.
and you think to yourself, well, everyone will be fine, except they're not.
Jeez.
So yeah, my Louisiana story.
I was walking out his window shopping. I saw a pretty mannequin. I stopped, glass I knocked, see she'd be my friend. But there was no mistake, I swear I saw her wink. And I blew her a kiss, and her portion cheese cut pink. Oh no, oh no,
Oh no.
oh no. I'm falling for a mannequin. Well, I can dress just how I like in sequin red or black. Can't say no, can't run away. Mannequin can't talk back. So go inside that big old fancy store. Ask the man in a mohair suit, how much can I buy her for? 'Cause she can fly for free in the overhead bin looking down at me. We can go around the world. The mannequin is the perfect girl. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Well, he said she's not for sale, so I picked her up and began to run. Been searching everywhere, and this girl here, she is the one. My timing was out of whack, unstuck and revolving door. And I tried to step on back, but her head came off across the floor. Oh no,
Oh,
oh no,
no.
oh no.
No.
Her head came off across the floor. Once police showed up, led me all the way outside to the flashing light for an unintended ride. Said, hey, you're kind of creep. But I pointed back, had a tear running down her cheek, 'cause she can fly for free. In the overhead bin looking down at me, we can go around the world. The mannequin is the perfect girl.
Oh no.
It's a little misogynistic, maybe, I don't know, but it's
It's a fun song, and
it's about a mannequin.
It
you
is
left out
fun.
the verse about going on the cruise ship in New Orleans, but otherwise,
I will add that. This song goes so fast, there's time to add that. Oh, no, I saw her body in the whole...
She could swim.
She could swim.
You know,
she's a life preserver, basically.
I think I can say this, and it's appropriate, and people can infer and do their own Googling. But there are documentaries about people who enjoy the company of such company. Yeah.
Whatever you do, do not Google real dolls.
Don't do that. And don't go to the British TV channels to learn more.
I think where Bob works there, we won't say where that is, they're developing this AI technology for, at-home companions.
Well, look, no, yeah, they are, but honestly, does anybody want a smart mannequin?
I'd like one to weed my garden. That would be like awesome.
Minimal
Yeah.
intelligence.
I would not mind someone to do unpleasant outsourced tasks and then sit in a corner for the rest of the
Quietly,
day.
yes.
Yeah, and like they don't eat. That would be cool. I have a teenager, so yeah. Gotta save some money.
Go into the teenager's room and get the laundry. Ew.
Well, up there between Lynchburg and Charlottesville, Virginia, is a little town called Tight Squeeze. I'm sure everybody's been there.
I love this.
Don't blink or you'll miss it. And this, back when I was circulating around, you can really get out there and go crazy circulating your music, and that's been fun for us. The band had one of our first recordings featured on NPR's Car Talk. It was called "Driving with Her Knees," and it was that was kind of, somebody called me up and called us up at home and said, "Hey, I think that sounds like their song on the radio," and it was. And then so I entered a lyrics contest with American Songwriter Magazine down in Nashville, and they picked out this song to print the words in their magazine, and so that was kind of cool. And it's called "Tight Squeeze," inspired by Tight Squeeze, Virginia. Heard about a risk taker, put all his money on a game in a smoky pool hall in East Liberty, PA. The winning ball was trapped between the 13 and the 10, but he slid it down with some wicked spin. And the man across the table said, "I don't believe what I see." What do you call that shot? Tight squeeze. And I heard about a girl who went to see the Rolling Stones in a big arena far away from her home. She was pressing on a stranger up against the door. And when it finally opened, she fell down on the floor. Their legs were intertwined, they were cheek to cheek. She said, "Explain this place." Tight squeeze. You're tighter than two lovers in the back seat of a car, tighter than the pockets of a hustler in a bar, tighter than a drunk walking on his knees. This place where they call it tight squeeze. And I heard about a man was with a lover and one with his wife. He tried to keep it straight who he was with, but he switched their names in the middle of a kiss. And he looked over at the referee. What's the name of my predicament? Tight squeeze. Yeah, tighter than two lovers in the back seat of a car, tighter than the pockets of a hustler in a bar, tighter than a drunk walking on his knees. This place where they call it tight squeeze.
That's one of my Kirk Ridge favorites.
That is a good Kirk Ridge song right there. Hey, Kirk, you've had that guitar in the studio here a few times. If you want to give us a little heads up on that fantastic Goodall guitar you've been bringing in recently?
Yes, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I sold a bunch of my instruments to buy one really nice guitar, and it was a new guitar by James Goodall. He's now in California, and that guitar had an Italian spruce top and Indian rosewood body, and I play it a lot. I'll be playing it at the Zimmerman Vineyard. And then I had sort of a secondary guitar when I went to the festivals and, didn't want to, subject a really top-end guitar. And lo and behold, I found this Goodall used. And so that meant a modest price, half the price or more of a new one at, speaking of Sound Pure, over at Sound Pure in Durham, wonderful place, great people. And Barrett Brooks has been here on the show, actually is their acoustic guitar guy.
He's a great player himself.
Wonderful. And so I went in, and this guitar was built in 2008 in Hawaii. James Goodall used to be in Hawaii with his shop and then moved to California. It's all mahogany, and it wasn't a spot on it. I don't know. It must have been some people are collectors of instruments.
It just sits in the box.
And, 12 years later, it's, looks like it just came fresh from the shop, except the wood is aged. So this is a parlor-sized guitar, which is similar to between a single aught and a double aught. Guitars come in different sizes. I really love this one because it's just so nice and comfortable to hold.
It does. It fits well and it sounds good too.
Well, and I've found that people who choose the parlor size or the in-between kind of the auditorium size guitars, they make them sound really good.
Right.
Because they've probably, I actually make that choice. I like an auditorium-sized guitar. The full-size Dreadnought is just awful on my back. So I've learned to make that guitar sound good and work with my voice. And everyone who comes in here with those sizes, they're really popular. They always sound very meticulous.
Totally. Those big double-aught Dreadnoughts were great when you didn't have amplification.
Right.
But these days, when you do have amplification, they can sound a little boomy sometimes.
They can. And they can also, I know some people really love them, but they can physically overwhelm some people. And kind of,
I've seen people hide behind them.
Yeah, so that's an interesting phenomenon. But you need to choose the guitar that's right for you, ultimately.
Well, Kirk did.
Yeah, this one's beautiful. I'm such a fan of it. It's gorgeous.
I just love playing it, and it's again nice size. And so is this our final one?
Oh no,
Maybe two.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, this is a song that a ballad that I wrote some time ago, but always enjoy playing it, and we'll see how it goes. I've flown up in the air, spent half of my life up there in dreams, and I felt her long black hair caressing me everywhere. It seems look in every place, through all time and space, but can't find her there. Can't find the girl with long black hair. We had everything. She traded her heart for my ring. The days were long and filled with sweet aside. And then one night when she was out of sight, I gave in to selfishness and lies, and a search in every bar, looked in the passing cars. I wonder where the girl with long black hair, long black hair. Been up half the night trying to set it right with lovers who just would not let me be. Now all alone with no place to call home. You see, and I cry down the empty streets. They echo back to me, say she's not here. The girl with long black hair, long black hair.
So, what was her name?
This is fiction.
Of
They're
course it is.
so much easier to find when they have long red hair.
I know, it sort of
They don't get lost.
glows in the
Stand out
dark.
in the crowd.
That's right.
So, but if you want, if you're hoping to go, you would dye your red hair black, so you'd.
Slip in
So
the
I can
crowd
just
that way.
blend in. You know, I say that though. I blend in pretty well, right? Bob's looking at me like you're such a liar.
Yeah, you blend.
All right, Kirk, save us.
Well, we will do our. This is my anthem to the feminist movement.
Woohoo!
Shout out to Kim Lane, wherever she is.
I hope she's nearby and listening.
Well, the Garden of Eden, Adam was eating the apple from the tree and playing the flute in her birthday suit was a woman known as Eve. And God appeared with a fiery beard, quite displeased. Adam had no shame, said Eve was to blame, but she's already headed east. And dressed in skins, they lived in the dark and rocky cave. Inspired, she made fire and she fanned the flames and hid his bow against the stone she grabbed from his hand. Said, respect the cook, or you'll be a hungry man. Now this is a sing-along, Kim. It's coming up soon.
All right.
My friend, if you offend, well, in the end, she'll have the final say. 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 Aristophanes in ancient Greece, he wrote about a war. The war made no sense, the women said of that they were sure. They devised a plan when a man came home to bed. Till you stop the fight and make it right, you know, ain't gonna be no sex. Well, my friend, if you offend, well, in the end, she'll have the final say. 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 1776, the Patriots about freedom they wrote. 150 years they disappeared before the women got the vote. Well, the moral of this story, by what I sang, is equal as equal does, or it might boomerang. 'Cause my friend, if you offend, well, in the end, you know what? She'll have the final say. 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 Yes, indeed.
Kirk Ridge and the Ridge Tones here on Past
That
the
was
Hat.
excellent singing.
Thank you. Bobs, you can stop writing your letter to the manager now.
Start or stop?
Stop. Bob was sitting here outraged, starting a letter to the manager about
I was outraged.
The manager of
Of the
just
universe.
everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
angry, so angry.
There was just so much to be angry about.
I mean, really.
Yep.
It's time for a change. Not like men have done such a wonderful job with the world, have we?
Well, I mean, there might be one or two good things over the millennia.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm coming up blank right now. I'm just saying maybe there was something that happened.
We'll think about that while we're going to now play from Kirk Ridge's playlist. So, Kirk, you brought in a CD, right? Would you like to introduce
Well,
this?
first, I think we might have out on the stream Barry Gray.
You want to kick off with that? Okay.
Let's start with Barry because Barry Gray is really one of my favorite songwriters around. I've been fortunate to do a good many shows with Barry. He's part of the family band Gray Matter, and we've had him here on the show several times. And this is one of my favorite songs of Barry Gray.
But before we kick that off, we have to remind folks that we're going to be turning off the live stream now. So y'all wave goodbye to Kirk, but you do not have to miss this if you're turning off the live stream. Go out to WHUPFM.org. You can stream this anywhere. You can find us on the TuneIn app, and you can hear all the fantastic music that's going to be going on for the next 30 minutes, y'all. Well, according to my watch, like 34 and a half minutes. So all kinds of good stuff. Say goodbye to the live stream, y'all.
And let's give a listen.